Hi guys, Brian from Boas here. So for today I wanted to do more of a blog style video about an unexpected and unfortunate occurrence that happened to me last week. And so as you probably figured out from the title, I discovered that my prized pair of Peruvian boas, which I'm holding back from last year, had escaped. And I have a variety of emotions about this, of course. One of them, I felt a little, sheepish because I had actually released a video about how to prevent your boa from escaping a few months ago. And it just kind of underscores to me that, the more I go on in this hobby, the more I realize how much there is to learn. And also that you can really never underestimate your snake's ability to escape, because these animals are just pure escape artists. So the way that it happened, I was actually doing my weekly routine maintenance, and I was cleaning out my, it's a holdback rack that I built that holds the Sterilite 28 quart tub. So I had actually transferred these beautiful Peruvian boas into the larger tubs just a few weeks ago, upgrading them from their 16-liter Sterilite baby tubs. And everything seemed fine, and I thought that they were escape-proof. But they were able to exploit this little tiny gap at the top of the tub and to escape. And so let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's the rack in question. This is actually a rack I built myself to hold these 28-liter Sterilite tubs. You can see there's the rack. And when I built these, I noticed that there were some small gaps in the top. Whenever you have a rack, either homemade or commercially available, you have to check really carefully. So you can see there's this gap right there, and my solution was to use these popsicle sticks and just basically to wedge them in there and just to narrow the gap. And I had done this before for some of my slightly larger animals that were in here before I moved in the Peruvians, and it worked fine. But what I didn't realize is that even with a gap of about 1/8 of an inch or so, you can see there, the animals are able to push their way out. And I didn't think it was possible, but it is. So, my solution now, this is actually not my solution now. I have a better solution where there's actually no gap at all. So it's going to be impossible for these animals to escape again in the future. And so in this case, this was a homemade rack, but I've seen similar issues with some of the commercially available racks. So you have to be really careful just to check the gaps in your rack, just to make sure that your animals can't get out. You can see she's a little testy today. These Peruvians still have not calmed down appreciably. I kind of love the wild spirit that they have, and hopefully she's not going to draw blood today. So anyway, I found that they had escaped, and the first thing, I was kind of in shock. Is this real? Did they really escape? Because like I said, I was convinced that they wouldn't be able to get out. And then I thought, well, maybe I just moved them to another cage, and I had to kind of jog my memory. I even thought, well, maybe somebody broke into my snake room and stole them, but none of those were true. They had actually escaped. And then, so of course, I started looking desperately for them. And luckily my snake room is pretty escape proof. There's no way they can get out of it. It's nice and warm in here, so they're not going to be too cold. And there's really not a whole lot of hiding places. I've got all my racks and furniture elevated on casters or wheels, so they can't hide under it. And I look pretty much everywhere. I'll have a few shelves and some bookcases. Yeah, I thought that was coming. Anyway, I have a few shelves and some bookcases, but they weren't in those. And I looked pretty much everywhere and couldn't find the snakes. And that was the whole weekend I looked. I'll just put her back, actually. I think those Peruvians will calm down with age. This is actually a 4-year-old male farm-bred Iquitos Peruvian. Thought I'd get him out for the remainder of the video. But anyway, I looked everywhere, and these snakes seem to be able to just vanish into thin air. I mean, maybe they're going through some portal to an alternate dimension or something, because I had looked everywhere. I did this several times a day. Fortunately, Monday I came down and I found the female that was on top of one of my snake racks. And then Tuesday, a day later, I found the male in the very same position, and they were fine, and they were put back on the rack, and which I believe to be escape proof at this point. But the moral of the story here is that when you least expect it, your boas are going to escape, even if you think that the cages are escape proof and you've checked and you've double checked. And needless to say, I was really happy and relieved to get them back. I had a couple sleepless nights worrying about these animals. You know, I have a lot invested in these animals at this point, since these are second generation, you know, breeding at my facility. And I don't know what I would do if I would have lost them. I've just got so much energy and effort put into these animals. It just would have been devastating. You know, I found that breeding my own animals, I tend to get attached, and I place a considerably higher value on animals that I produced than, you know, similar animals that someone else produced that I bought. It's just, they're kind of your babies. You just really get attached to them, and you know, you really get emotionally attached to these animals when you get into this hobby. And so I should mention, I have 2 pairings right now of my Placalpa. You know, the same bloodline as the baby female I showed you earlier. You know, so fingers crossed, it would be great to get some more of these babies later this year. I know that a lot of people want them, and I certainly can understand why. So hopefully I'll have some more babies to offer later this year. So that's about it. You know, again, check your racks, make sure there's no gaps so your baby snakes can't escape. And if you want to hear more about my thoughts on escapes of boas, you can check out the video I did on it some time ago. I hope this was helpful. As always, reach out to me with any questions or comments you may have. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.